If you recall Maya's, one of Maya's initial slides with the bars, where she said that medical devices, new medical devices will not immediately go to, let's say, assessment. It first has to go to an expert panel. It has to be looked after by the notified body. That's the next two speakers that we want to introduce. We start with the notified bodies, and it's Andreas Stange who is with us today. He's a vice president at TÜV Süd, which is, and he's in charge of medical services, IVD, so in vitro diagnostics, and also the medical devices at TÜV Süd. He has a scientific background and was working, he's also in charge of Northeast Asia, so a lot of travel load on his shoulders, and he was for 8 years vice president of TÜV Süd in Japan. So a very global view, but also a very, let's say, insightful perspective on notified bodies, so the regulatory bodies in this arena. Thanks for being with us.
Yeah, thank you for the introduction. So, yeah, my name is Andreas Stange. I'm German, as you may hear from my accent. Can we have the first slide? Sorry. So, yeah, so TÜV Süd, you can just go through that. TÜV Süd is a technical testing certification provider. We are very well known in Germany for doing the regular car inspections, but we do many other things as well. We are a notified body. That means we do certify medical devices, mainly for a European market, but we are also accredited for other markets. On the next slide, you can see the footprint for our medical health services. So these is basically the group dealing with medical devices. We are pretty big, around 1,500 people. Our center of the universe, so to say, is in Munich, but we do have also certification bodies and teams in the US, in Denmark, in UK, and yeah, you see also our footprint in Asia is also pretty good. On the next slide is what I'd like to share today with you. First of all, I'd like to again explain what are we doing in Europe, how we basically assess medical devices. I will show you the process. I will then explain you these limited groups, which we heard from Maya Matthews in the beginning. What are they composed of? And it was very good to hear the explanation why. Because it is really very, very small group of devices which fall into the scope for now. And then briefly suggestions. Next slide, please. So a notified body we are not a regulator. We are basically an independent private organization, but we have a very strict supervision by both the European Commission and also the national member states. They come annually to see what we do, and basically we are bound to, of course, confidentiality and independence. And when a manufacturer comes to us and wants to certify a device for a CE mark, then we basically do three different works. First of all, we audit a quality management system, what the manufacturer has to establish, that shall prove that they can manufacture the device reliably and safely, not only once, but over longer periods. And these audits are annually repeated, so we go fairly frequently to the facilities and look how this is done. Secondly, we also look at the technical documentation. That means the manufacturer has to submit the technical file. This is can be pretty heavy documentation, including clinical data to show that the device is complying with the regulations, that the device is safe and effective. And this is usually done, especially for the high-risk devices, and which are here in the scope of the HTA as well, is done at the very beginning of the conformity assessment. So we receive the technical documentation and we review it. And finally, we also do test devices, sometimes based on, I mean, we do unannounced audits, so we basically go without telling the manufacturer beforehand. We go to their facilities, pick samples, and see whether this is really done all correctly. But this is a rather small area of our actual activities. On the next slide, you can see how a conformity assessment process or a certification process under the MDR looks like. In the very beginning, we basically have a discussion with the manufacturer, explaining, you know, or listening what they want, what is their time plan. We matched it with our resources, because you can imagine medical devices have many different technologies involved, and of course, first of all, the notified body must be able to assess these technologies and must have the experts available. So the third box, application submission, this is when basically the manufacturer has decided, okay, I go with this notified body, I have confidence, and they submit an application together with the technical file. We sign a contract, and this binds us, so to say, together, a little bit like a marriage, yeah? Because switching a notified body and trying to find a different one when the manufacturer feels, oh, they're a bit too strict, or I don't like the assessment style, the regulators don't want that, yeah, because otherwise you could just go from one to another and figure out where you can wiggle through. So you can separate again, but this will be recorded and will be publicly available, and also it costs some money because once everything is done, you have to identify the medical device with a CE mark of the carrying the identification number of the notified body, and to change that, the labeling, this is quite expensive. So anyway, so you sign the agreement, you submit the technical documentation, and this is when our experts look into the technical file, see the clinical evidence, and in some cases start also a and in these cases which we talk here about, an expert consultation after we have reviewed the clinical data. In parallel, the audit takes place of the manufacturing facilities. Can you click one further? Oh, no, this is one too far. One back again. Sorry, I thought I added here. And here, in this case, when we have the clinical evidence, we submit a report to the expert panels and receive an answer and shall take this into consideration. When everything is finished, we basically issue a certificate, and then the manufacturer is allowed to put the CE mark on his device and place it on the market. On the next slide, we can see, I explain now these special cases where we have an expert consultation taking place. So the first case mentioned in the HTA are class 3 or implantable or class 2B medical devices which are administering or removing medicinal products. In these cases, we will have a look at the clinical data. We'll make our report, basically saying, okay, this looks all okay. We recommend maybe the CE marking. This will be then given to the expert panel, And the expert panel has then to answer us within 21 days whether they will look, whether they will form an opinion or not. If so, this opinion needs to be with us in 60 days. If we don't hear anything from the expert panel, then we just go ahead and continue with the conformity assessment and issue the certificate. If we receive this expert opinion, then the regulation says we shall take it into consideration, and of course, I mean, notified body will follow the advice. On the next slide, I have explained the cases for IVDs. For IVDs, expert panels are involved when we have class D devices. These are the highest risk class, where we do not have common specifications, and where the devices, common specifications are basically published performance standards. Yeah, so these are devices where where it's established, okay, what are the criteria in order to be considered safe and good. And where we have maybe a very novel test. In those cases, notified bodies also have to involve an expert panel, and an opinion is then formed, and in the case of IVDs, this opinion is also published, and you can look it up. And therefore, I could also count how many opinions have been formed in the 7 years of the life of IVDR, and these are 24, so not so many. Here are some examples of tests which have been going through here, and you can basically open these expert opinions and look into them and see also which notified body has submitted them. Right. This is for Class D devices. Yeah, we can go to the next one. And yeah, from our viewpoint, it's a little bit difficult to say, okay, what criteria should we put there? Because, I mean, our job so far is just to look, is the device safe and effective? Yeah. So from a health payer view, I mean, this is not the view we usually take, and so the only thing I can add here is that, yeah, use good common sense and use scientific sense, yeah, when you decide on whether, yeah, to pay for a device or not. That is, yeah, my opinion. Yeah, thank you very much.
Any immediate question? Yeah.
Just shocking. You mentioned that there is this period where questions can be raised. What's the percentage of procedures where you don't get any response? 80%, 90%?
I think we usually get responses. This is, I guess so. But we don't know how many consultations take place actually, because this is confidential. I can only tell you possibly how many we have done. Yeah, I actually don't know it. But we don't know. Yeah, but usually not. We get the answers.
Good. Thank you very much.